You're right, everyone, it's Ace here from Romany Custom Catapults. So today I'm going to be making band sets, but I'm going to do them in how I feel is an efficient way, but it's the most cost effective. So if you don't want to invest in band jigs and tapered rulers and various different stuff, this is the bare minimum you can get away with for making band sets. Some people might say less. I don't think so. If you're going to make a decent quality band, you're going to need the amount of stuff that you see before you. Making bands are important, I think, for a catapult shooter. It's a skill you need to have, not just for it being cost effective, but the fact that you can pick and choose your tapers and everything. It's just so much more customizable, and your band set is everything. It is potentially your accuracy. You need a band set that suits you. So I'm going to make a couple of sets up here from scratch. We're not going to rush the video. It takes as long as it takes for you to understand the best way possible. Any issues, just drop me a message in the comments to this video and I'll try and sort it out. So yeah, here we have, let's put some of this away. You will need a cutting mat, guaranteed. You have to have a cutting mat. This is A4 size. It's the bare minimum size you want, really. You can go slightly bigger. I've got an A3 mat, which is massive, which is great. But I like this mat. It does me fine. I don't need any bigger, as long as you've got your numbers down the bottom, which help you out. You also need a rotary cutter and a metal ruler. I mean, pennies to buy on eBay or in a shop or whatnot. Now, this is a 60mm rotary cutter. It's a very big blade. The reason why I have this is because I use 10mm fences and 10mm rulers that I've custom made myself out of perspex. So it needs to have a big clearance here, as you can see, to get over that. If you're going to be using a metal ruler like this continuously, you're probably better off getting a 40mm rotary cutter or even 25mm, because it just keeps it a little bit more stable. But this will work fine, and Alpha is the cream of the crop when it comes to rotary cutters. You'll need a pen, and then you need your stuff to actually make your band, your material. You need your band, obviously. You need pouches. I'm using precise 0.45 here. HTH bone pouches. These are the ones with a slat I'm yet to use, but I think these will be better than holes anyway. And also, we're using this to tie off with. Now, because we are not using a band jig, we do not get that initial stretch. So using little pieces of elastic for wrap and tuck, or amber belt, or crystal string isn't going to work very good for this, because you need an initial stretch of your band to get the wrap on. We're not doing that because we're not using a band jig, so we want a rigid material. Now, in this case, we're using dental floss because I've got it here ready available. And I like dental floss because it's kind of stiff. Like it's got a stiffness to it. Not overly stiff, but much stiffer than the inner strands of paracord, which also works fine, but I find it more fiddly. Ideally, I like fishing backing line, like fly fish back line. It's like a more rigid material. It works fantastic, doesn't cut into the band too much. But it's £7 a reel for the stuff I like. So I've ran out of it because I make like 50-60 band sets at a time. So we're using the good old dental floss. Plus, if you anchor to around about your nose or mouth, you get that minty smell. So anyway, first steps, we need to get our band cut out. Now, you need to know what length band you like. Shooting 0.45, 0.4 band, I find I like an active length of 150mm. That's 15 centimeters, or 6 inch thereabouts. Now, that is I've learnt this over the course of 10-12 years. Some bands are slightly different and whatnot. You will find your active length by getting a tape measure, holding the one end in one hand and drawing the machine part back to where you'd anchor a catapult. So you're basically using a tape measure as your catapult and elastic. You see what there is in inches, and then you divide that by 6. So if your draw is 35 inches, divide that by 6. That then becomes how many inches you like as an active length. It won't be precise, but it will give you a good guideline for whether you want your bands to have a little bit more stretch in them or a little bit less. It's trial and error. Catapults is all trial and error, like most things. Anyway, I like 150. Then I've obviously got to cater for the wrap and, well, the pouch end and the frame end. The frame end I'm using clips, so I'm only needing 5mm. On a wrap and tuck frame, I'd probably leave 15mm, but 5mm for my clips. At the pouch end, I'm going to leave 10mm. That's enough for me to get a bind on. If you're less experienced, probably better off going out to 10mm. It'll make it a little bit easier for you. Like I said, this process, what I'm doing now, you're going to fuck up. I did at first. You're going to waste band, but it's a trial and error thing. You need to get used to it. So anyway, we've got 150mm plus the 10 and then the 5. So we've got 165mm that I want to cut off. So I'm going to put my band out on the cutting mat and I'm going to look for 160mm. So your band's not going to be absolutely precise level. It's a little bit out. I mean, I could make it precise level. Let's make it precise level. I've leveled it up here. Perfect. We want that one level. This bit here is a tiny bit out. So I'm going to put my ruler on the line like so. And we're going to hold it down firmly, but keep your fingers back out the way. I'm going to get my rotary cutter and I'm going to tilt the rotary cutter in slightly to it. If you go out, it's no good. Level's hard. You want to be in just, not too much, but just a bit. And one quick swipe like that. We'll take that edge off. Now we have, or should have, a perfectly square edge, both at the top and on the side. Doesn't have to be precision, but it's better than it was. So now we're going to cut off to 165. Now this board has only got measurements of 10, so we're going to go with roughly 165. It doesn't have to be precise at the end of the day. Turn that a little bit like that so I can get a bit better drive on it. There's one cut. Now we're going to cut another one identical, because we're going to layer these up and we're going to cut off in pairs. See, when you're making bands, no two pairs need to be identical. As long as they're close enough, you'll find some bands that shoot better than others anyway. But the strands that you're using, you want to be as level as you can possibly get them. So we're going to go in again at 165. Roughly twist round, penny of pressure, and again away we go. That can go out the way. We've got no more use for band. I like to keep a tidy workstation. We have our two strands now. Now what I'm using is some water in a spray bottle to help these strands stay together. I mean, you don't need a spray bottle. You'll probably find one in the house somewhere. You could just wet your fingers in a little bit glass of water and just kind of flick it on. Would probably work just as well. A little bit of water on the cutting mat. Now we're going to face them so there we've got the band length going vertical. Let's spray on that one. Again, we're going to do it so they're vertical. Now we're going to put the ruler at the side. The bottom one's in tight. Just a little bit of trial and error, just to get your bands nice and level. See, when you're cutting off, I'm doing 2 at a time here. I have seen someone do 4 at a time. It all depends on the thickness of your ruler. Like these just about fit side on. If I was to put another 2 slices, I would call them sheets, another 2 sheets, they would slide over the ruler, so it wouldn't work. So with this particular ruler, how thin it is, we're doing 2 sheets. I mean, there is another way around it. You can get another straight edge, like a book edge or something like that, and get them tight too. You know what I mean? There is other ways of doing it. So, but once these are together, you don't want to be moving them. Now, at the top, we're going to start with our taper. Now, I'm going to be using an 1811 taper. So that's 18mm at the bottom, and it will go down to 11mm. So that taper is 7mm. It's a 7mm gradient, or whatever you want to call it, increase, decrease, 7mm. So what we're going to do, at the top, we're going to measure off our 18mm. Again, it doesn't have to be precision because you're making in sets, remember. As long as the two are identical, you're perfect. Now, if I was to draw 11mm down this bottom, some of you might have gathered you've got a straight edge here, and then you're going to have a 7mm gradient edge one side. It works fine in my personal opinion. That's how I did it for a very, very long time. So there's not an issue with that. But for the benefit of this video, we're going to taper evenly each side. So a 7mm taper is 3.5mm per side. So we don't want to be coming down to here 11mm. We want to be going in slightly. So basically we want to take this in 3.5mm before we go to our 11mm. So what we're going to do, we're going to draw off 3.5mm approximately. Well, 1, 2, 3 and a bit, which is there right in the middle. So that is going to be our one side taper. Then from there we can now go 11mm. So we've got 10 and then we've got 11. So now what we're going to have is our first line. So what we've got to do, I'm going to do it the other way around here because I can lay the ruler basically like so, from the very corner down to that 3.5mm. Can you see that? That is the first taper that we're taking off. This is necessary to get your taper just right. Then we're going to spin it back round. We're going to get the ruler on the edge, make sure everything's still in place. It should be, thanks to the water. So now what we've got is 18mm at the top and we've got 11mm down here at the bottom. So what you do now is you kind of reverse it. So from this 11mm we go 18mm. So we go 10, there's 20, we're dropping by 2, 1, 2, there's 18mm, and then we go back down to 11mm. And up this end, where it's 18mm, we go to 11mm. So you go 18, 11, 18, 11, 18, 11, but you change it at different. So if you've got 18 at the top, it's 11 here, and then 18 at the bottom and 11 at the top. You kind of reverse it. It sounds complicated, it really isn't. Now all we've got to do is cut the bands. So what we're going to do, we're going to straight line from the first pen mark to the bottom one. Get your ruler on there nice. A little bit of pressure, like so. I just about pass my finger then, and we have a set. So we're going to make sure it's all top and bottom's all level, and then we're going to go again. I mean, it would help just to spin it around for the simple reason, keep spinning it so your ruler sits on your band. This side it can come off the band, which can be a little bit of a nose. You want it to sit on the band. There's less chance of movement that way. So again, we're going to line up from one pen mark to the other, like so. Nice lot of pressure on there, pressure on your rotary cutter, and up. So now I'm going to remove that elastic up there out of our way because we're not going to do the full lot. We have two sets of bands. Now, is that set identical to that set? Probably not, but as long as the two strands are identical to each other, you're going to shoot great. You're always going to find that. So, I mean, I've shot band sets sometimes that I felt, oh, I wish I would have lasted forever, because some band sets you find better than other. But as long as you've got two matching strands, you're perfect. So what we're going to do now with our matching strands, I don't have to worry about the thicker end, the 18mm, because that's going in a clip. We're going to line off here. In fact, it might help a little bit if we now dry this off, because we want a little bit of slide, I suppose. What we're going to do, we're going to lie the bands down. Now, if you remember rightly, I said I like 10mm at the top of my bands for wrapping off with. So what we're going to do, we're going to measure 10mm. Again, is it going to be absolute precision? It doesn't really need to be. As long as it's fractions we're dealing with and not millimeters, we're all good. I'm just laying them down perfect to one of the lines on the mat. I'm not just laying these willy-nilly, I am actually laying them down so they sit on a line. I'm going to get my ruler on the bottom line, like so. A little bit of pressure, and we're going to draw off. Now what you've got is you've got your line, your 10mm line for attaching to the pouch. Remember, keep your sets together, don't get them mixed up, because they might not match. They need to be in the same set as what you cut them. Now we're going to get our pouches over, and we're going to make the band set now. This is where this comes in. So what we're going to do, we're going to get some strands, I mean a decent amount so I can get a good pull on it. 12 to 16 inches, I'd say. You probably get away with shorter, but here's what it is. I'm going to need 4 strands. There's 2. There's 3. And there's 4. Now, you're going to have to look up how to make a constrictor knot. Very, very easy. I do it on a pen and you'll see why. So, I'm going to make my constrictor knots now. I mean, ideally, it would have been better with a pen without this rubber piece here, but I'm sure I can manage. All right. Constrictor knot is a very easy knot to make. One of the simplest. Watch me struggle with it now. Pulled through that way. And up that way. Now that is one constrictor knot made. Don't want to tie them on there too tight. Like I said, it would have been much better if I hadn't had that rubber piece on there, but hey ho, it'll still work. And I'm going to do another one. I'm not going to make 2 band sets up, I'll just make the one. That's all you need. So we're only going to be needing 2 of these for the benefit of the film. This one's been a little bit easier than the first one. Maybe I was a little bit rusty. Now we've got our constrictor knots on a pen. It would have definitely been easier without this piece of rubber on it, because it's actually got itself buried in the edge, which is faffing around we don't need. So yeah, there's a note to self and to whoever's watching. Don't get a piece of rubber on your pen. And what we're going to do, this is why I use a pen. It's easy to slide the constrictor knot onto your pouch. So we're going to slide this constrictor knot to the edge, put it there like so, and get it on our pouch. So now your constrictor knot is on your pouch. Now make sure when you're doing it you know where you want your knots. These pouches are reversible, so it's much easier to make with, but you want to make sure you get them level. Now I'm going to go in from the inside and come out. So we're going to put an edge in like so. We're going to put it through like that, and I'm going to put it through so the pen is even, the pen mark, the line is even with the edge of the pouch. That is our point of fold. So I'm going to fold the band over, pinch it. So there you go. It's like that. Our pen mark has come out the other side. So we're going to adjust that by just pulling this bit back through a little bit more. I mean, you don't have to be this precise, but I'm going for it. Nice and neat. And then we're going to slide this constrictor knot up off the pouch and onto the band. Now obviously I could do this a lot quicker than I'm doing it here on video, because I'm constantly looking at the camera to make sure I'm doing it, so we can do it faster. I'm going to get this end and put it in my teeth, and then the other end I'm going to pull. So we have a bind, but it's not tight. The reason why I've not pulled it tight is I want to just shuffle a bit. So I'm going to pull this a bit, and I'm going to slide the knot down a little bit closer to the pouch. That's a bit too close. It doesn't have to be right on top, but as you can see, I've slided it to where I want it. I look at it, I make sure I'm happy. I get both ends of this, and we pull in tight. I mean, it's a bit slippy. You might be better off with gloves. Also, you could cut your fingers with it. So gloves may be a little bit better, but you get it as tight as you possibly can, which should be tight enough. And there you have one side done. So now what we need to do is get the other side done. So the first thing we're going to do, again, is put our constrictor knot on. In this case, it was on the inside. So you try and match one side up to the other, or you should be matching one side up to the other, I should say. Pen off. You don't need to use this pen. It's just I find this easier, so I'm hoping that you guys will find it easier. Now the key is to match this to this side. Now as you can see, the band there is facing downwards. It's in there like that, facing downwards. We need to be making this the same. So in order to do so, we're going to come in from the back, as opposed to coming in from the front the other side, because well, it would be the front if I held it around like that, but from the back we're going to come out and in. I mean, making bands is never something I've massively enjoyed. I know some people out there find it therapeutic, blah blah blah. I find a pint of beer therapeutic, not making bands, but each to their own. So now we're going to twist this around, and like before, we're going to match the pen line to the pouch. We're going to pinch it over. The pen line is banging where it's supposed to be. We're now going to slide our knot over the top. Again, one end in the mouth. I've pulled it in there. Now I want to kind of match that side to the other side. It's not far out, in all fairness. I'm going to pull and slide a little bit down, but not too much. I'm happy with that. So we're going to now pull in like so. And there is our band. You measure up. Look, both the same. Now, because this pouch is reversible, you could shoot with these flaps on the outside or with the flaps on the inside. I prefer on the inside because I like it smoother this side, because I shoot very close to my cheek. I anchor to my earlobe, so they tend to scratch my cheek. Even this side scratches actually, but I prefer them on the inside. But inside out, so outside is the go-to more preferably. So what we're going to do now, we're going to neaten everything up. We're going to just knock that end off of that. We don't want to go too close. And then we take the edges of the string off. Again, you don't want to take these strings really, really close. They don't need to be. They're not going to affect the way you're shooting anyway, being a little bit longer. You want them to be even each side though, so your weight distribution is the same. That might sound silly, but when you're shooting things as small as 7mm, weight makes a lot of difference to your shot. 9.5, not so much. And there you have it. There is a band set made. As you can see, they line up perfect. I hope I've got everything in shot. Should have. And that's your band set made. Repeat, repeat, repeat. But that is making a band set with the bare minimum. A cutting mat, a rotary cutter, a steel ruler, a pen, and if you don't want to buy fly fishing backing line, you can do it with this. It's not as good as fly fishing backing line, I'm going to be honest. Fly fishing backing line is far superior. I would have made those constrictor knots a lot quicker, but it works well. That's all you need to make a band set. Obviously, you've got to go and buy your band and you've got to go and buy your pouches, but that's it. You don't need that, but it's handy. I hope that's been interesting for you all. Obviously, this band set that I've made, well, not obviously, it might not be obvious for all. This is an over-the-top band set. This suits over-the-top shooting. I've made it because I'm going to use it. I don't shoot TTF. There is another way of shooting TTF. In fact, I'll show you. So, if you're making OTT, as I've explained, you push your band in and you fold. You fold, you get it level to the edge, as you can see there. There's the pen mark. And that's it. It's a simple fold over. If you're going to do a TTF band set, it's going to be a little bit different. What you're going to do, you're going to fold one side. Instead of folding it right over, you fold it to the middle, and then you get the bottom bit and you fold that over. So it's a kind of a roll effect, and then when you pull it in, it looks different. It kind of it looks like that. How can I? It rolls over. So that's the only difference. Instead of folding your band in half, get your band so it's looking like that. You get the top bit and you fold halfway instead of all the way, halfway, and then you get the bottom bit and you fold right over the top of that. And you get a different shape, so when you're shooting TTF, it comes back a little bit different. Does it make a big difference for your shooting? Oh, I don't know. Some people say they can use TTF on OTT and OTT on TTF. And an OTT band set is easier because it's just one simple fold over and that's it. Rather than that half fold and then folding the bottom bit as well. They're more fiddly, but there you go. That should explain how to make a TTF band all in this one video. Saves me doing another one. Oi, I'm going to come round to me. I hope that has been helpful for you all. Yeah, I've been making band sets for a long time, and that is pretty much how I'm doing it. The only difference being is instead of using that metal ruler, I'm using a tapered ruler, which has the taper already on it, and I just reverse it. I don't have to do pen lines or anything like that. But that is a very efficient way of doing it. You can do it like that. Get your whole lot of band marked all out in one go with your little lines, and then once you've got your edge cut off, that half a taper on the one side, it's just keep going up and down. But just pay attention to your bands and make sure they're all level and nice, easy push with a rotary cutter. You're going to fuck up on the first lot. I did. Probably the second and the third lot as well. But over time, you will get better at it, and then you will be laughing because you'll be making customised bands that suit you absolutely perfect without the cost of buying off of other people and having off-the-shelf bands. Cheers all, and thanks for watching.